and stuff for so I just kind of forgot what I was talking about. Me and Lawson here. It's Sunday. You know what that means. It's time for our weekly Fireside Chat. The best part is, dude, I got a fire. Alright. So, welcome back to the Fireside Chat. It's Sunday, the 17th of March. And we are in the pre-warm-ups for our primary campaigns. We will be filing on the 5th day, the 6th day of the 5th month. So that is May 6th. And the filing deadline is open till I think May 9th. So that will be the official filing window when we find out who our competition is and who is officially going to file to run against us. So that is one thing we'll find out that day. The voter pamphlet will come out a week or two after, and these videos will have already been out for quite a while. So all of the other candidates have already taken all of my talking points that you guys have here and are trying to sound like me. I don't blame them. I would do the exact same thing. I'm the only one that goes through and pulls this stuff out of the fire, out of the legislation, understands the real issues, and then articulates it down into digestible, understandable information. Otherwise, it just sounds crazy, and you have people flailing their hands around, screaming about all these atrocities that they cannot explain, expose, and barely understand. But they heard someone else say it, so it sounds like a good parroting point for them to talk about. Some of the other candidates may just tell you that they're religious and that they love God, and then they will sit there and tell you how religious they are and how important it is for you to vote for somebody that is religious. I am religious. I am a Christian. I believe in God. I'm actually extremely God-fearing. Everything I do has to do with God. I will be making a video on the issues about my faith and my Christianity and how everything I do is because God tells me to do it, and that I have my beliefs in Christianity, and that has a lot to do with it. Non-denominational, but like I said, I'll have a video on my faith. I don't think this is the place for me to preach my religion to everyone. Christians should know I'm Christian, and that's important. And then I'm going to tell you guys I'm Christian, and like all good Christians, you know that it's all up to God. I'm not worried about winning or losing because God's in control and God decides. So if God wants me to win, I'm going to win. If God doesn't want me to win, well, it's not my time. And whoever wins was the one that he chose to win. So, depending on how my message is received by you, will also depend on how God wants you to receive it. So hopefully it's received well and that you guys will vote for me because I am doing God's work here. That is a fact. So, I'm going to go ahead and set my Bible down. I love my Bible. I found it in the trunk of a car a long time ago. And I pulled it out and I was like, what a neat Bible. And I started reading it and the lady's name was in it. And I was like, well, this is neat. And come to find out that she passed away. And that all of her belongings, that and a bunch of other things were in the trunk of the car. And the kids did not want it. So it became my Bible. Thank you, Joanne Bean, for the Bible. And I keep it, and it is my favorite. And that's all there is to it. It's my Bible. I like it. It's not a special Bible or anything, but that's where it came from. And I've been through a lot with it, and I've read it a lot. So yeah, pretty neat how things happen like that. exactly how it's going to be strange when we tell the greatest story ever told later about how the people of Washington rose up and elected myself, who only got into politics because I got pushed around and bullied by the bureaucracy. And because I saw Donald Trump getting attacked by all the same people that were doing harm to me, I knew that he was on the side that I needed to be on, because the enemies were the same. And the old saying goes, an enemy of my enemy is a friend. And Donald Trump is a friend, and he is not my enemy. And everything he's ever done seems to be above board to me. I understand that there's a lot of people that think differently, and there's a lot of propaganda out there. And you guys can believe what you want. I invite you guys to dissect through it. I will, in time, be happy to have conversations with you guys about it. However, at this time on the YouTube, I had to disable the contents because there's too many, and because I have friends that are pretty good internet trolls, and they are very effective at being trolls, and they say stuff in the chats that can like instantly get a channel banned, and they know exactly what it is. So I had to ban them because they were saying the exact words that would get us banned. They do that on purpose. They think they're cute. And they do it to show that they will ban you for it. It's like, I know you guys. Why do you keep doing it? So they keep getting on my channel. They're probably working for the other side. They're like, get us channel banned again, quick. Information warfare is crazy. Irregular warfare is technically the campaign. I forget. A lot of you guys don't know. So we're in, I think it's DTM 21001 or 19001. I don't want to sound dumb, so I'll get you guys the right ones. I have another video going over that, and we'll be going over that one later. I'm not going to do it in the Fireside Chat. It has to do with the Q group, NSA, Snowden, that kind of stuff. Agency, Defrit, Steep State, crazy people, all that stuff. Yeah, I know you guys have heard of QAnon, but it's not what you think, and it's not what the propaganda media tells you. It's just, Q group is just part of the NSA, and they investigate interagency stuff. So they're like internal affairs, and the anon part is anonymous researchers, because the investigators and the researchers that have to investigate and research other cops or other, they call it blue on blue, that means cops investigating cops, they had to be anonymous because the levers and the corruption went so high up that the actual investigators, they couldn't know who the investigators were, or that there was fear of intimidation or retaliation. So the only way to get real investigations done to literally have anonymous researchers that went over the evidence, and the theory is you have enough of these researchers and enough of them going over the same correspondence that you get a summed up version a lot quicker. Then the prosecutors and the agents that are the face of the investigation have a lot more agents capable of putting the work together, and then their final product is a lot more thorough. That's also how they get us to work for free. It's an inside joke, but they do make us work for free. So, kind of what it is. DTM 17004 is the civilian workforce. That's the guys they use to get it done. The elections that were the last few, I'll just tell you guys, it was all monitored. So when Trump gets out there and states things that he states with the confidence and the authority that he states things, he knows things that we don't publicly, and I've never seen him say anything that didn't later come to be true. And just to throw this out there for some of you folks that may not understand, if you're the President of the United States, you have information that none of us can even imagine. So there's not really a possibility that a stupid person can be president. I know the news does their best to make the military, the president, all of our upper echelons of our democratic institutions look like morons. That's just to demoralize you guys and to make you guys think our country's shot, it's not worth fighting for. There's a lot of underlayers of their attacks and what they're doing. They get us to fight each other over the Democrat and Republican thing. So like there'll be a lot of Democrats that don't like me, they'll talk crap about me, despise me, they won't vote on me, they won't even consider me because it says Trump and Republican. even though everything I'm fighting for is exactly what they need to make their lives better and to fix all the issues that they have problems with. I have some pretty good Democrat friends, and they have a lot of tech positions and a lot of other positions that are very good, and I'm still learning about them before I get up here and start spewing my face about a video. I think I know what side of them I'm on, and some of them are against the conservative side a little bit, but I'll give you guys the reasons why. It's not that big of a deal. Most of it's legislation that was put in place for checks and balances on banks, politicians, stock trading in Congress, and things like that. And most of them I really agree with. But like I said, there's issues on some of it that I'm not fully competent on. And what I mean is I've read it. I think I know what it says. But when you get into what's called the registry, and when you get into laws and the way that the legislation is written, intent and purpose can be masked. And what I mean by that is the verbiage of what they say can later be claimed to mean something different. So if the verbiage and the words in the legislation aren't locked in with very well known intent and purpose, it leaves everything ambiguous, and lawyers or anyone can come in later and pick it all apart. Even if the actual legislator that wrote the bill comes in at a later time and says, well, this is what our intent and our purpose was on this law, which is called legislative intent, it's still very hard to fight because you have to deal with the levers of the APA. The APA has found every way it can to police itself and give it self-deference over all of that. So it doesn't really matter how many lawmakers you have out there writing the laws or making the laws or doing these things. It comes down to the agencies that interpret it and your ability to counter their interpretation and get standing to challenge it. Otherwise, they just do what they want and you have no lever to correct it. Little things like this are how it gets out of control. If there's no way for you to hold them accountable, how do you do it? Well, you have to have people like me that have standing for other reasons to come in, and half the time we have to get a board of directors impaneled, and the only way they're going to do anything is if you can prove that there's a potential loss to the insurance company that pays the state's claims. If you can show that they're at risk of maybe having to pay one of you guys money, you can actually get something changed. And that's the truth of it. So the whole thing about the bounty hunters and all the people out there that they say are trying to fix it and go through and audit and do all these things, they're doing it for self-enrichment, and they're not even fixing the problem for the people. They're fixing the problem for the insurance companies and the state. So they're basically showing them how to tighten up those loopholes to make sure you can't get in and get them. Because the whole thing's a big tort scam at the end of the game. In fact, the whole economy's a tort scam if you want to get technical, right? Insurance companies and governments, banks control governments, governments control people, so it's all about who has money, right? What did Rothschild say? Give me control over a nation's currency, and I care not who makes the laws. And that's a quote. And that's a quote from the people that were running your central banks. So if the central banks run the world, and they openly run the world, what's the point of governments? Well, the point of governments is the illusion to make you guys think that you are represented by people that are looking out for you. If this isn't true, then they're just gatekeepers for the banks. And that's the situation we find ourselves in now. And that's a situation I'm asking you guys to help me correct. So you can choose to play the political games and fight with each other back and forth and pick a side of the Republican and the Democrat, which are the same, which is the left and the right of the same set of shoes, right? If you pick one of those and you end up in one of those mainstream parties. Now, the Trumps have taken over the Republican Party, and there's big changes going on there, so I want to give them deference until they give me a reason not to. It's going to require the Republican Party to come to candidates like me and share the resources, explain the situation, and not just try and juice me for what I can do, but actually back me up, support me, and actually have the American people's best intent, in their mind. So if the RNC changes their platform from raise money to find politicians that are good, that are looking to help the American people, that are looking to change laws, that understand the hierarchy and the structures, instead of just politicking to donors to try and get put into the spot so I can sit up there and smile and say, I'm the nominee, I have a coalition of people that are helping me. That doesn't help anything. In fact, that's exactly what you don't want. So what we need is people in the RNC that aren't spineless, that are going to stand up and say, no, I want candidates that are for real. I want candidates that are going to help the people. I don't believe this person will. I believe this person's going to lay down for money. I believe this person has special interests in mind. That's what you need. And if your RNC isn't doing that, then they're just gatekeepers for the banks and Big Pharma and all the other companies out there that are paying in order to keep control of the legislative branches of power. So this is where the war comes in. Civil war, you can call it that. I call it a civil war of lawfare, APA. They're trying to take your rights. So just like back in the day when our forefathers got pissed off in the Boston Tea Party and dumped the ship over, do we have to dump the ship over? Hope not, but we are going to have to take the elections back. Because without fair and free elections and transparency, and without all of us feeling that we're having a fair election, the elections are failing you. So the fact that your neighbor or you or whoever maybe feels that the elections weren't fair, the fact that anyone feels that way means the system's broken, it has to be redone. The whole foundation of this country came down to people being able to vote and having faith and confidence in the voting process. Otherwise, back in the day, one side would have just said, our guy wins, there's no way for you guys to test it, the wars would have never stopped, people would have kept shooting each other, and that's what would have happened. There would have been no resolve to anything ever, okay? So, that's what they're trying to do now, is cause ambiguity in the voting. They're trying to make it to where you or your neighbor or somebody doesn't quite trust the system or the levers of power, and because of that, your entire system is junk. And if they want to fight to keep the junk system, well, they're your enemy, and they're trying to destroy your country. I call it shatter the union. Okay, so they're trying to shatter your union. Eventually, they'll have the West Coast say they're going to separate, Cali's going to want to separate, and Texas is going to want to separate. Just like they do with the public and elections, they're dividing. It's dividing, divide and conquer. You break the United States up, now you got a bunch of small states you can capture with bureaucracy, take over. They have no backing, they can't do anything. Weaken everyone. Take them one at a time. So, ask yourself this simple question. Are you someone that wants to destroy the United States, or are you someone that wants to help the United States? And here's another good question for you. If you're somebody that wants to destroy the United States, where are you going to go after you destroy it? There's a lot of us that would like to know, because for a lot of us, we don't see anything. If the United States falls, the world falls. So you guys need to ask yourself what you're doing. I would really like to know myself why you guys, right now I'm giving you guys the deference that you just don't know, and ignorance reigns supreme. But how long do you want to be ignorant? And if you want to stay ignorant, then that means there's a reason for that. So if you want to stay ignorant, you continue to be ignorant, even though the information's in front of you. Now we have to wonder if you're an enemy combatant. Are you trying to destroy the country now that you're doing knowingly with the intent to deprive us? I don't know. How many judges out there took an oath to the Constitution yet knowingly violated every day by allowing courts to make unlawful and unconstitutional rules? Is it okay because the subject allows the jurisdiction of that into a court that isn't real? I don't know. Whose job is it to look out for that person? I guess it's you. But what happens when they're knowingly violating your constitutional rights for self-enrichment? What happens when those elements are made? They're doing it all the time. Who holds them accountable? What's the lever for holding them accountable? You get big words like treason and stuff like that, and they start throwing their hands around saying, oh my God, he's threatening to kill us. He's calling us treasonous. There's a reason the treason is treason, and the definition is what it is. And we don't need a new word for treason. We need to enforce the old word for treason. And when the elements are made, people need to be held accountable for it. Otherwise, they'll keep doing it. So to all the law enforcement and the judges and everyone that are knowingly violating people's constitutional rights for a paycheck, just know that you're putting yourself in harm's way and you're walking down a very dangerous path. If you don't know you're doing it, well, then your ignorance and your lack of training and the unlawful retention of you by the state should be also recognized, noticed, and documented. I believe that if you're going to accept a position of power, one that requires ultimate responsibility and gives someone a lot of deference over other people's life, that you at least be responsible and understand what you're doing according to the oath that you took, which is to the Constitution. And I've seen more judges than not violate the Constitution, stating that that's just how it's done, stating they have to, stating it's precedent, along with attorneys that are supposed to be officers of the court. However, they are officers for their own self-enrichment. Therefore, they are also enemy combatants to the Constitution, knowingly violating their oath. Once again, this is treason. My words might sound harsh to many of you that have knowingly committed treason without understanding the elements of it, still committing treason for self-enrichment to deprive others, knowingly with intent. You guys do it all day long. And so do officers of the law who are trying to make elements of crimes that don't exist, or just winging it in order to throw something at the wall and hope a prosecutor can force some kind of plea deal. If you do not know the elements of the crime that you're charging someone with, you are violating their constitution. If they are out committing crimes, then you need to understand the elements of the crimes and charge them accordingly. If they are committing crimes, in your opinion, yet there is no mechanism or way to charge them, then the voters need to know that, and we need to fix that so that it can be handled. However, vigilante enforcement and faking it till you make it is what gets us into these problems with people not trusting the police. I have a way to fix that as well. I believe that communication with the police and police being active in the community is the most important thing. For instance, instead of having to buy the police more guns and vests and equipment to go out and fight bad guys, I'm going to give them lots of money to have events with like free food and bingo and all sorts of giveaways to the community. In fact, most of the giveaways and the stuff that we want to give to the community, the extra resources, the money, I'm going to give it to the police to do stuff. Throw parades. All the fun stuff will come from the police. The people will then learn to trust them. All the events come from them. The planning comes from them. The community, all that stuff. So it'll be like, okay, the police just got $100,000 and they're going to set up a race, a car race. They're going to have drag races. They're going to set up the county sheriffs are going to have drag races. Sign up, get your insurance, get your stuff together. You're going to have races. The cops are going to hold it. It's going to be a good time. They're going to be pillars of the community who are involved in the community, constantly doing fun stuff where people, kids, younger and older, will start to relate to the cops as fun-loving friends who are helping to police the community. But things won't go wrong very often because people will respect the police and understand they're coming from a place of friendship and a place of mutual respect and citizenship. This is how it has to be. Right now, so many people are afraid of the police. They blame everything, and it's all based on propaganda and lies. I promise you that. Okay? If you have, there's black police in black neighborhoods, there's black police in white neighborhoods, there's white police in black neighborhoods, all that's going on. It's not race. It has nothing to do with it. If the police were showing up, blocking the roads off, and setting up a circus, people would like the cops more. And they'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, the cops are running the circus. We are the carnies this week, you know? This is what we're doing. There's not any crime going on because we got everything pretty much running good. So there's no reason for crime. So the cops are now going to set up events. We're going to do parades. We're going to do fun stuff, giveaways, circuses, whatever. All sorts of stuff. Cops like cars. They all know how to drive. So let's have some tracks and some race days. Why are you street racing? Why aren't the cops setting the races up? Why aren't the cops teaching kids how to maintain their cars and keep them good running and right on the road? That's all possible. It's not fantasy. They don't allow that because they don't want that kind of communication. They want separation. They want the police to be seen as a strike force or some kind of fear tactic. You better not mess with us or we're going to jackboot you. I don't want people that think they need to jackboot citizens. That's not what you're for. If you want to do that, join the military. Trust me, there's countries that they'll be happy to exchange lead with you, and a lot of guys over there doing that. So if you want to exchange lead and not police your society, your community, then go join the army. But we don't need you in the local law enforcement. We don't need tanks. The police don't need tanks. You guys don't need big armored cars. Guess what? We're going to get rid of the drug dealers and the fentanyl, so we're not going to have to put you guys in that kind of danger anymore either. We're not going to allow monster gangs to fester and create militaries of their own that you guys can't battle without military equipment. We're going to fix it. We're going to secure the borders. We're going to put the people in jail that need to be in jail, and we're going to privatize the jails or not. We're going to decide on that. I have lots of different legislation for that. I haven't decided. I know I'm big into contracting, but I'm also big into rehabilitation. So I have a lot of different setups that I can do with the jails and the prisons and things like that. A lot of it has to do with the way they do it in court and stuff. So with your traffic tickets, things like that, the court can have deference over your traffic ticket. They can send it to the election agency. They can pull it back if they decide they want to deal with you on their own. They have that kind of deference. I think they should do the same kind of thing, but with private prisons. Some people, the courts can't help. They're just going to have to go to the prison. Better for them, better for us, better for whoever. They have to go to the prison. If the prisons are privatized, they will be under extreme regulation in order to make sure that there's no human rights abuse violations. They'll be constantly monitored by state employees, but at the same time will be run privately. Meanwhile, anything that the state does will be done basically with the community, and we're going to do our best to rehabilitate and keep people in the community by trying to take care of it on our local communal level until it gets to a certain point. And then once you go into the system, you're into the system. It's a private corporation, and we'll be monitoring for human rights abuse. But at that stage, you know, we got to have them. We got to have prisons. That's just all there is to it. It's never going to be a perfect world where we don't need them. I would like to believe that's the case, but I haven't seen evidence of that. I always think there's going to be a need. I think that mental health is going to be a bigger thing, and that's why I think privatizing it's the way. Because once you do that, just like FedEx and the UPS, they'll fight each other for, you know, supremacy. So FedEx existing keeps the USPS in check. Otherwise, the USPS wouldn't do its job unless there was FedEx there for you to choose from. Okay, well, with these prisons, once they're privatized, there'll be things like cost they want to deal with. And we're also going to have a merit-based setup for them too, to where less prisoners might pay them more. You see, because I don't want them just to think that they need to keep every prisoner forever and that every prisoner is long gone and just going to be locked away forever. We're going to have different programs. We're going to have mental health programs. We're going to have a merit-based rehab program. Prisoners that come out of there that never go back, that place will get a certain score. Every time that happens, they're going to get a bump in their contracts, where it's going to report positively to them. When people leave their prison and they reoffend, that will affect them negatively. Therefore, they will be very big into rehabilitation, helping people, teaching it. If people come out of their prisons with a law degree or some kind of degree that helps society, that will not be punitive. That will be awarded. They will be awarded for that. People that they rehabilitate, that they make good citizens out of, they will be rewarded. The ones that reoffend, that's punitive. And then those private prisons, when they get those guys back that have caused them money because they're being punitive, they might not be so nice. Now, we'll still have regulation to make sure that, you know, human rights abuses aren't taking place. But at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that those people that are reoffending and causing those places grief, they may have some kind of internal, you know, mechanism for that, to where like, oh, you're just not, you know, you're not rebuildable. We've helped you in every way. We even put you through this program, this program, this program. You even managed to get out. You got out. You came right back. We're not interested in this time. We're not interested in giving you that deference. We think you're going to sit your whole time out in that cell over there because you already burned us once. I see a lot of potential with that sort of setup. Now, I don't know everything, and that's why I need advisors. And once we get advisors, a lot more of my legislation will be looked over and picked over by advisors. And then at that time, we can decide what has good merit and what doesn't. Plus, I'll have a chance to look at the way things are working now. Plus, I'll have the authority and the oversight to be able to go to these places, talk to the 4th and 5th level down people, ask them, what do you like, what doesn't work, what do you, you know, things like that. Find out what state programs are functioning, what state programs do work, and which ones we're going to need to gut, basically. Because I'm tired of it costing all of us money for things we just don't need. We can get it fine-tuned, we can cut the fat, we can get it done, we can make America great again, we can do all these things. It just comes down to having someone in there that's going to be straight up with you and give you the reasons why. Instead of lying to you and covering everything up and just telling you we're working on it and we're fighting with Congress to pass legislation, all this crap. BS. BS. Governor has veto power. Governor has executive order power. Once you get me in there, I can make it happen. They can talk crap and call me a dictator and all these other things, but everything I'm going to do is going to be for the benefit of the American people. None of it will be for self-enrichment. So, if we get in there and they're like playing games with the budget, well, I'm just going to write an executive order and I'm going to get everything done. And I'm going to start gutting agencies. I'm going to start shutting stuff down. Every level they try to fight me on in lawfare, I'm going to have a team of lawyers to cut them back. And I'm going to have it done ahead of time. And if the lawyers try selling me out, I'm going to catch them because I can read the legislation myself. And I'll be like, no, screw you, veto. They're going to call me Big Daddy Veto. They'll be like, you veto everything. Why are we even working on this? Well, because one of these days you guys are going to learn. And that's what matters. Intent. Purpose and intent. Everything they do, I need the purpose and the intent. I mean, does that make sense to you guys? Purpose and intent. If you're going to do legislation, if you're going to create anything, purpose and intent. What is the purpose of it? And what is your intent? Why is this department here? Oh, this department's here so that we can help get people driver's license. Okay, the purpose is to what? Well, regulate who has a driver's license. Okay, so your purpose is actually regulation. Well, to issue and regulate. Okay, so now you're issuing and regulating driver's licenses. All right, so that's it. You're issuing and regulating driver's license, making sure that licenses and registrations are issued. So that's your scope, that's your purpose. Now what's the intent of that? Oh, to help make tax dollars and to help fund roads and streets and stuff like that. Okay, so you guys are only collecting money for licenses, registrations, and all that money that you guys are collecting is going to go to this. Okay, so now we have a set intent and a set purpose. Now somewhere along the line, the bureaucrats are able to redirect all of this, and now their intent and purpose is to collect money for drugs and to enrich themselves and to make sure that no one can get a license, or to make sure that they're taking licenses and making sure that they can't register certain cars. So the reason that we made a Department of Licensing now, the intent of it and the purpose of it have been wadded up and thrown out the window, and they have replaced the purpose and intent with different ones. But you can't challenge them because they got the APA, and they're the ones that decide, because they have all the deference. Not with Governor Leon, because Governor Leon does an executive order with his pen, and then he fires the head of the Department of Licensing and says, "Get them out! You're fired! Get them out!" And they're gone. And once they're gone, we put another one in there. And then I say to him, "You see what happened to the last guy? If you don't keep the purpose and the intent that you wrote down for us, you're going to follow him. And you're both going to be over there trying to sue me for unlawful termination, but it's not going to work because I got immunities for that." And that's what immunities are for, is for the governor to not get screwed over when he gets the people that are screwing the people over. That's what immunity's for. It's not for what they're using it for now, so that you can't have standing to get the state for constitutionally violating your civil rights, just so they can say, well, the state's not a person. Well, it's a person until you try to sue them for violating your civil rights. Now it's not a person, and the state can't violate your civil rights. You have to go after the exact individual that did it. Well, okay, that individual is protected under the state's immunity, so now they get the state's immunity and everything else, but you have to sue this person directly, which they're going to say the same thing every time. I was doing my job. Which means the best you can ever do is a tort claim, if you're lucky and can prove damages that'll make you whole at best, unless you can prove some extraordinary damages. Hard to do. I've done it, but it's still hard to do. Not the path. The path is to fix it. Okay? The path is to fix it, not try to figure out loopholes on how to get rich. That's what everyone else does. That's what I'm not going to do, and that's why I'm running for you. And once you guys help me get elected, we write the greatest story ever told. We take it back. We rewrite all the legislation in a whirlwind-style fashion like they have never seen. And that's me, the Trump Republican, that does that for you, Leon Lawson. If it weren't for Trump, I would have never run, and I wouldn't have been able to get to the position to do it for you. But it looks like we're going to win. Hopefully the Republican Party does the right thing, because you know how it is. Republican, Democrat, they're typically run by big donors. So if those places are more worried about getting money to enrich themselves in order to prop up the candidates that best serve the donors, we're in the same boat. So ask yourself, do you want to do the right thing, stand by the candidate that's going to change things and do the right thing for the people, or do you want to sell out to the big corporate interests like everyone else does and allow your ballot harvesting and your controlled opposition and your full-on election rigging to continue? Because that's not the American way, and you might get away with it once, you might get away with it twice, you might even get away with it this next time, but it's only a matter of time before I get in there, and when I do, I'm going to flush the toilet. So, Washington State, hopefully you're enjoying my Fireside Chat on Sunday, March 17th, a couple months before filing, so if you guys are just now getting this from the voter pamphlet, which comes out in, I think, the end of May. So you're probably looking about May 19th or 20th, getting towards the end there. Our elections are going to be in August, so the primary, not November. They're going to keep telling you the elections are in November. They're not. They're in August. By November, it's all rigged. If you don't get it right in August, it's all rigged. Your candidates in November will be the fixed party candidates. That's why you never hear about August elections. You only hear about November It's media warfare, information warfare. Information warfare. So, I have some things on, some exciting things coming up this next week for On the Issues. One of them is the religion video I flirted with you about, told you about. I'm going to do that one. There should be a few others. I have one I want to do on labor unions, but some information was put to light to me from one of the labor unions, so I want to talk to them before I put it out, because if I'm wrong about it, I don't want to put information that I'm wrong about out. So let me get that information from them before I do that one. So it kind of got leapfrogged a little bit there, but we'll get to it. And then some of the other ones we got coming up are, I have my list. Here's one I'm looking at. Oh, the sanctuary cities. I'm going to break down some more of it. That one's kind of, I don't like really getting into it because it's really bad, and what they've done is just so, it's obnoxious, and it's a tour to outrage, truly. I mean, if we could hold Inslee accountable directly, it's a tour to outrage. The whole sanctuary city reasoning, all of it. You know, COVID's true intentions and the reason they did that is really bad, and it has a lot to do with like funding and stuff too. Like, they didn't have the money, so they needed to pull a scam, and boy did they ever do it. So the markets, they're all, everything's crazy. So we're going through some hyperinflation events, currency manipulation, something to that effect. For years and years and years, China was doing currency manipulation to us. Somehow we flipped the script on them. It's affecting us locally and everything on items like, you know, food, fuel, housing, all the stuff that's important to you. That just shows you how much foreign interest is involved in those things, which it shouldn't be. This inflation shouldn't affect us at all if we weren't hooked to a global finance system. A good example of that is Russia. I invite you guys to go and watch some of the grassroots videos from just the Russia environment around there, like the little towns where they're talking about their inflation and stuff. The Russian ruble is worth almost nothing around the world, but in Russia, the inflation hasn't even affected the people. In fact, a lot of their food and energy prices have gone down because they stay local. They don't travel because they know their money's not worth anything. So it's pointless for them to go outside of their communities. But inside their communities, most of the shop owners and things like that will tell you that they haven't noticed any change. And in fact, everything's still fine, and they don't even notice the inflation there. It's because the communities know how to work together and take care of each other. America has made you think that we're so big and that there's so many people here that kind of thing isn't possible anymore, and that's simply not true. You can live from your community. If there was ever a catastrophic fallout, or they took down the internet or something, it's not going to be like that movie they put on Netflix, that End of the World movie that I didn't bother to watch, because it's horse crap. None of that would happen. If the internet goes down, or all the crap goes down, nothing's going to happen. Your neighbors are going to be your neighbors. All the people are going to be the same. If you think for a minute a bunch of tweaked out fentanyl people are going to raid your house or something, you're wrong. They can barely get up. The drugs are so cheap, they're killing them off left and right. You're just not going to get that type of crime. Besides that, most drug addicts aren't monsters. They're not going to just come kick your door open and rape your family and rob all your stuff. Those people really aren't out there. They're not really out there, okay? I mean, if they are, the cops really have taken those people far away. Good cop, bad cop, they all need to get rid of those people. So most of them aren't running around in the streets. If the internet went down and everything went crazy, you'd probably see some looting maybe, at best, from a bunch of crazy people that got together and wanted to loot. Then they'd probably all end up in jail. Well, if I was governor, I'd end up in jail, but we won't go there yet. Don't loot under the governor. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Your community will get you. If you loot when I'm governor, your community will get you. I'm telling you, your community is going to get you. If the cops get you first, you'll be better off. But if you do it when I'm governor, your community is going to get you. They won't stand for the disrespect. I'm telling you, respect demands respect. And if you do that, to me, your community is going to get you, because I'm looking out for them, and they're not going to stand for it. I know every community in Washington. Don't think I don't. I know the richest ones. I know people in Lake Washington. I know people in the ghetto of South Tacoma Way. I know people in DuPont. I can walk down Hosmer and I'm going to know people. That's how it is, man. I mean, I know everyone. I've been to Yakima, Wenatchee. I know all of them. Wenatchee, Yakima is like Mexico now. Johnny's. I've been to Johnny's. I go to Yakima. I've been all over. I've been to every city in the state. I know people in every city in the state. Half of my friends, my close friends, grew up in all the different ones. Mass of them. A bunch of my friends from California came up here. I know Mexicans that were illegals that grew up here and started businesses and gone back to Mexico, became legal, came back, set up 50 businesses. I know a lot of people. I know people that used to be extremely unsavory that should have probably been locked up in a cage a long time ago that have now changed their life around and become upstanding citizens of the community and have done only good, understanding the errors of their ways. Remember, God's always watching, so unless you're willing to be able to face God and the people with everything you did, that day of judgment does come. Don't think you just die and you don't get that day of judgment. That day of judgment comes. Everything I do, I know I'm being watched by God and I will have to answer. And He told me a long time ago, if I do anything bad or if I do anything that I know is against God, that I get it 10 times worse because I know. So it's like, that's extra scary. That's extra scary. I get the good job, but boy, if I screw up, I get the ultimate stick in the carrot. I get the big stick. My stick's got nails and it looks like something out of Walking Dead, which I don't watch either. I don't watch TV. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any of that. I try to stay focused all the time and focus on legislation, understanding more about APA rules and the levers of power, how to like change things, how to fight this lawfare that they're going to come after us with. Basically, I've been learning how to walk on water, and basically how I've been doing that is I've been putting stones under there where they're not looking, so I can just dance right on the water across it, get past all of it. So that's my plan, is to walk on water with the stones under it. So we're gonna get them. They don't have the candidates to take me out. If it comes to debating policy issues or just basically any overall political facts. Coffee brought to you today by Hot Chili. This was hot. This was hot. My wife got this. Hot. The mild stuff's really good. This is the medium. I'm sorry, this is the medium. This is the okay stuff. The hot's out of control, but I use it for coffee. A great coffee cup. Sorry to spoil your fireside chat with my coffee drinking. I invited you guys to have coffee with me on my fireside chat. I do these on Sunday night. Helps with a little bit of consistency. I feel like if I get up here and I speak to you guys on my fireside chat for a while, it helps me to get comfortable speaking, learn how to bring the issues up, stay focused on them, and stay within scope. I like the On the Issues videos because I can focus on one issue and I don't get drawn off and forget to mention something. My biggest problem with speaking is I might start talking about something and I'll get off course and it'll lead me to talking about something else. And maybe I'll get into explaining that and then I'll never get back to the first point that I was trying to make, and I'll just in my mind assume that I've told you the information and then you guys don't have it, and then without the right context maybe I don't make sense. Don't like that. When you're speaking like this, it's important to keep track on the focus, keep focused and tracked on the scope of your video. And the On the Issues really helps me because I just pick one issue and I go off, and if I start straying, I just bring myself right back. The fireside chats, we can get a little bit out there. If we're not careful, we'll be talking about UFOs in the desert and crazy stuff like that. I don't get too far into conspiracy theories. All the conspiracy theories I've ever been accused of being a part of came true, and most of the time they're not really, well, yeah, conspiracy is not really a theory in my mind. It's more of a felony. It's like an element of a crime, conspiracy is. So when they say conspiracy theory, it just screws my brain up, because a theory is like a legal theory, right? So you're like, okay, I have a theory on how to make a cause of action for a case. So like, say you wanted to charge someone with assault. Okay, so the assault is your theory. The theory is the cause of action. So you got your conspiracy and your theory. So your legal theory is the assault. I have a theory that I can make the elements of assault and then hold you accountable for assault by you being found guilty of assault. So conspiracy is one of those elements too. You can make conspiracy is a felony. So if you're found guilty of committing conspiracy against someone or sabotage, things like that, there's certain elements to meet those. So if someone says, I've been sabotaged, well, there's different kinds. There's criminal sabotage, and then there's other types of sabotage. But if you can meet all the elements of, say, criminal sabotage or a different kind of sabotage, those are different elements which can give you different degrees of that typical crime. So when someone says conspiracy theory, it's crazy to me because it's like, okay, are you saying that I have a theory on how to make a conspiracy case? Because that's true. So if you call me a conspiracy theorist, you're right, because I am technically working on how to make a case of conspiracy against you. So it is a conspiracy theory, but to write off everything as being some form of theory that can't be made doesn't make sense. So when you say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, that's why they always say, oh, debunked. Well, what's debunked mean? What does debunked mean? It's been debunked. It's the worst word I've almost ever heard. It has no meaning, and it just makes everybody sound so stupid. And the people that listen to these people and nod and clap like seals and think that the mainstream media is doing you some kind of service, open your ears. Listen to what they're saying. Conspiracy theory. What is that? What is a conspiracy theory? It's what I said. It's a theory on how to make a conspiracy charge. It's not saying that people are satanic and eating children. That would be a story or a story. It's a story you heard. That would be a narrative, right? So maybe if they said something like narrative theories, that would be more creative instead of conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theory is factually wrong. Narrative theory, that would be, oh, that's a narrative theory. Okay, so they could say that QAnon people were a narrative theory, and that they have a narrative that there's a deep state of people that traffic people and eat people. Alright, well, there's cannibals and human trafficking. So that's true. So they can't call it a narrative theory because it doesn't sound crazy enough. So they have to say something like conspiracy theory, which isn't even real. It's not even real. That's like if you accuse someone of something and they say, well, it's gobbledygook. It's nothing. They've thrown nothing out there, but yet somehow it gives them what they need to pivot you off of looking into it. Thank you for watching the videos today. Please like and subscribe if you'd like more content.
I'll let you try my